So here we go. So fundraising Tiger Talk in support of Oxygen for India. And thanks again, everybody, for attending. You are fantastic. This tiger here is a very much loved tiger called Pretty Boy. He does feature today a little bit at the end, but this is a picture that I love, and it shows everything that I want to achieve about my tiger photography. I want my pictures to be different. I want them to be inspiring, and I want you to try something similar. That's always what I want to do by showing my work. But I do, at my core, absolutely love tigers, which is where I'm wearing this ridiculous shirt full of tigers. It's actually a designer shirt. Coffee 70 quid. Can you believe it? I know, it's amazing. Right. Can you mute, please? Whoever's not muting, can you mute for me? Why tigers? Why have I got a passion for tigers? Well, I believe that you should always want to photograph your passion, because your pictures show when you believe in something. If you're just going around and photographing stuff here, there, and everywhere, then it's no good at all, okay? And your pictures will show it. You've got to believe in what you photograph. Every time I go and see tigers, and I love it because I share it, I've shared it with many of you on here. It's like the first time I go, I'm like a big kid. They make my heart beat faster. They give my photography passion. They inspire me to really want to try to conserve them and spread the message of how amazing tigers are. And I feel a real dedication to them. I really, really want to do the best I can for them. But also, I love tigers because of the people that are there. And here is Dicky and I, completely and absolutely drunk as skunks on the Indian Holi Festival. Some of you were with us. I know, I think Val, you were with us this time, and Al. You can see here we're completely caked in paint. We love it. You know, why are we doing this today? Well, the Oxygen for India campaign, which is from the British Asian Trust, which is a fantastic organization. So they're the umbrella organization that has got the buying power to get all of these oxygen concentrators. So that's what we're trying to get to India. That's why we're supporting their great appeal, because they're really great. We're doing this today because people count, you know, and people out there are suffering. You all know they're suffering. You've all read the stories. We can't just sit by and do something. So today, we're doing our little bit to try and help. We can help. We can all do a little bit. People think, oh, it's too far away, I can't do anything. Yeah, we can, and we are doing it today. So thanks very much from everyone. And I've had messages from people all over India thanking you today for doing what you're doing. And just people are so glad that we're thinking of people in India. We really are. So thank you very much for everything. And in my book, you're all absolutely awesome for showing your support today. So thank you very much. And I just wanted to say all that before we get going. And now we're going to get going. What was the first tiger picture that I ever took? It was this one. He's called Samson, and he lived, not now, at Dartmoor Wildlife Park, because once a week at Dartmoor Wildlife Park, I was a keeper. This is when I was at university, and I was a keeper because I wanted to get closer to animals and learn a bit more. I wanted to get enough money to buy more tins of Sainsbury's chili con carne, which was basically £1, and it's a fantastic thing to buy for £1. Of course, other tinned chili con carnes are available, but when you're a student, to have tinned chili con carne for £1 on toast, fantastic. So I was anyway going to be a zookeeper there. I loved it every Sunday, and they very quickly realized that I love my big cats. I love my tigers and my jaguars, and I had a special relationship with this guy. And because I was a zookeeper, I was allowed off access. So I was able to go behind the scenes against the netting, if you like, and take pictures of him. And he was absolutely fantastic. And when he came down one day to drink in this pool, it was just really mega. And I had very basic kit, you know, really, really basic kit. It was the days of film. I didn't really know what I was doing. But this picture, when I took it, a friend of mine sent it to Athena for me, and Athena were a big poster company then, and they made a poster of this called Call of the Wild, and they paid me, I think then it was 500 quid, which as a student is 500 tins of emergency chili con carne. Yes, I mean, that's a result, 500 quid. And I got royalties as well. So I got more tins of Sainsbury's chili con carne as the time went on. I could add it for dessert as well. So, you know, fantastic thing. Anyway, first tiger I ever took there, Samson. And I hope that you see that even all this, I mean, all this time ago, and I'm trying to think what it was. It must have been 85. So 1985, I had a perm, and I didn't just have a perm. I had it long at the front, cut over the ears, and long down the back. I mean, it was amazing, this perm. And that was how long? 1985. You think that, what's that? I don't even want to think how long ago that is. That's such a long time. But you can see the beginnings of my photography because I was right at the start of my career, hadn't won any awards, hadn't done anything, but I knew, looked at this picture, spent my time with tigers, that I absolutely loved tigers, and I had to spend some time with them in my life. Now, things in my life took over at that point, and I didn't get to spend any time with tigers for a very, very, very long time. In fact, 2008 we jumped to now. That's the next time I got to go to tigers, because I was busy building a career, doing this ridiculous television series and other things that I did. And I didn't get to do tigers, but I always knew that when people were asking me, what do you want to go and photograph? Is it emperor penguins or whatever? I was always, no. It's tiger. I've got to do tigers. I love tigers. So I was beginning to take pictures here, there, and everywhere of stuff, and I wrote to this guy that I saw on the internet called Dicky Singh, and I said, "Here's some of my tiger pictures. I've taken them in zoos or in America or wherever. Here's some of my tiger pictures. I want to come and do wild tigers. What do you think?" And he sent me back an email, and he'll tell you this, saying, "Your tiger pictures are absolute rubbish, my old son. They're awful. How can you send me pictures of this? Come over, and I'll show you what wild tigers are all about." And you know what? I did. So I took a gamble. I went over in 2008. I organized a few tours, and I spent 3 months in total with Dicky. And if you know Dicky, then 3 months with Dicky drinking every night was not good for me. But it was really amazing to spend that amount of time on the ground with tigers. And at that time in Ranthambore, which is, there are many tiger reserves available to go in India, but for me, Ranthambore is my spiritual home. It's where I feel at home the most, but it's also where I know all the people. And those that have been with me, you know that I know all of the forest guards. I have a lot of respect from them, and I give a lot of respect to them. You know, it's about the people for me in Ranthambore, as well as the tigers. I just love the place. Machli, which actually her number is T16, it means it's Hindi for fish, believe it or not, because she lived in the lake zone. Now, she is the most famous tiger that's ever lived in Ranthambore, because during a lot of the early time of Ranthambore, there's a lot of poaching, you know, and stuff. And she was there in the core zone, raising young and giving people a reason to visit Ranthambore, because if you saw Machli, it meant good luck. And she was the most beautiful tigress. I mean, when I took this picture, it was one of the first days I was in Ranthambore, and I was hanging out of the Jeep almost with my elbows on the ground, with Dicky hanging onto my legs, taking a picture upwards to get the angle. And she just ignored me. She was so cool. Such a cool tigress, really was. And here you can see, you know, in 2008, I'm beginning to develop the style that I hopefully have now, you know, out of focus foreground, focus on the tiger, out of kind of like off-center composition, and the tiger not connecting. The tiger is looking slightly out of the frame, because I think when a tiger connects, as you'll see later on, there's a certain tiger that always connected that looks very scary, and she's coming next. Actually really never really looked at you. Okay, on the rare occasion that she did, there was no aggression in her face. She kind of looked not soft, because no tiger is ever soft, but she was very chilled and very cool, and she was much loved, and I love her very much. She was born, they're saying, in roughly 1996, and she lived until she was 20, which is an amazing age. First time, as I say, I photographed her was like that. Now, I fell in love with the area that she was in, because Ranthambore is great. It has lots of different zones. I'm going to show you later on lots of pictures of the lake zone, because, of course, we have some superstars on the lake zone that come later in life, that are descendants from actually. But right now, this is about the widest I'm going to show you. And it's about one of the only times I've photographed a tiger in the Lake Palace, because you have these ruins all around them, and it's dominated by a 1,000-year-old fort. The ramparts just dominate the park. It's a stunning place to be. But down amongst the park, there are all these ruins, and you're desperate when you drive around for tigers to sit in them. Well, very rarely do they do that. In fact, Machli was the first, and then there's been a long period where nobody sits in there. And we had, I think in 2019, we had Cowboy T91, who made a habit of sitting in the windows. Lots of tigers go in there, but sitting in the windows is a thing. And lots of people just want to get the close up. And I was one of those. But I shot this from across the lake because I just like the degradation, I mean, it's just got amazing like power in this picture, and the colors and the stonework. It's all original. It's just fantastic. And to see the tiger as part of this, almost dominated and lost by it, is something I like to show. And it's very easy to get a full frame picture of tigers. You're not going to see many of those in this talk. I hope that you're going to see me using the habitat for its true potential. Now here you can see Machli in her element, and you will look at the stalk on the left hand side when she's coming straight at me. She's got no intention towards me at all. It looks aggressive. It's totally not. The ears are up. They're not back. If they were back, then you'd be slightly worried, but she's not. She hasn't got her ears back at all. You're going to see one of Noor in a minute where you'll get what I mean. But she's just coming my way. We're on a straight line to her, and it's great. Now, the one on the right-hand side, I put it up because it was my first Tiger Award that I ever won in the BBC. And a lot of people comment on it and say, oh, that's terrible. Look at those people hassling the tiger. Well, those people aren't hassling the tiger. Those people are stopped on the road to allow her to cross, because all of those people, those guys, a lot of them are ex-poachers or whatever, they've now got businesses in tourism, and they take people to show tigers, but they do it with respect. Okay. And they're all parked back. Everyone's getting a view. She's been born into this world. She's used to it, and she's walking on the path she's walked on for her whole life. Everyone knows it, and everyone knows to stay back. They're probably more annoyed, all those people, at the oik in the camouflage hat that was taking pictures of them all with the tiger in the foreground, which was me, because they all wanted to take a picture of a tiger. And of course, they've got tiger and us waving like this, me and Dicky waving away, laughing and thinking it was funny, which nobody else kind of did. And I can see my friend Nafis Dodgy there as well. There's a few other people. Salim's in the back there somewhere. So, these kind of pictures are great for Ranthambore, because, the tiger is great for bringing people. A tiger like Machli is great for bringing people to Ranthambore. And if you bring people to Ranthambore, you give an economic value to the tiger, which aids in its conservation, which is great. And I don't care what we have to do to save the tiger, as long as we do. And right now, tigers are doing pretty good. So I just want to explain the logic behind that image. Machli was a fantastic hunter. Now it sounds stupid. You think hunter, all predators are fantastic hunters. Well, all predators are not fantastic hunters. As you'll see later on, some of them are complete idiots. And you know which one I'm talking about. But Machli was a supreme hunter. Now look at this picture. Look at that concentration. She's stalking across open ground. Now, I try this with deer, and they see me every single time. But for some reason, she could stalk deer across open ground, and they wouldn't see her. It's the way that she moves. You can see every single muscle is taut. And when she puts it down, it's really, really taut. She won't make a sound on the ground. It's the way that she moves low. It's just fantastic. She, of course, will use every natural contour that she can. But sometimes she's got no choice but to use this open ground and go across it. Let me just show you the picture that you can see that there. I'll just take a drink. Ribena. You can see there, she's stalking across the open ground. You can just see the deer in the background there. So she's going down. She's got nice and low. She's going towards them, and they're all completely unaware. Now, she will want to get a lot closer before she can charge. She'll probably want to get near up to that tree on the track there on the left. The ideal thing would be if the deer would start to walk along this road here, because there's water in there. So they might walk along it. So she could sit down and wait, use a natural camouflage. And you may think, that's a tiger. It doesn't look camouflaged to me. I can see it. Trust me, when you're out there, they look amazingly camouflaged, and they're pretty hard to see. So we're only seeing it here because the light angle is right. Don't forget that she's stalking. They're looking into the light because the light is behind me. So they're looking into the light. They're very, very clever, these predators, especially tigers. They're very smart. And Machli was the smartest of the lot. Now, I was very lucky when I was there that I was seeing some fights, because her youngsters, one of which was Krishna at that time, her youngsters were 18 months old. And at that point, they get quite arrogant. And some of you have been with us on these trips where you've seen the tigers when they get to about 18, 20 months old, they think that they want to have their own territory, and they start to fight, and they fight the mother. And it happens a lot, okay? And it's really amazing, the noise and everything else that happens. Sometimes they don't need to fight because the mother, like Noor, was really good and gave them territories. But other times they need to fight. And here, Machli is having a very good fight with one of the youngsters. And then you can see here as well, you can see here, this amazing fight that went on the left. You can see the claws, and I want you to look at those claws as they are raking out. It's just amazing. I've just got a message to make sure. Oh yeah, somebody, that's right. Somebody just confirming that they can hear. This is my second BBC award from Tigers, the one on the left there. And it was one of these times where we just took a gamble. You know, somebody said, "Oh, we see Machli go down there," and one of the cubs is following her. We went down the track. The cub came by us. We saw Machli stand up, and they went and they were fighting, and they were behind a tree. Now, had we started up the Jeep and gone forward, we could have disturbed it. So we had to wait. Suddenly they came out from behind the tree. Bang, bang, bang. I was able to get, a sequence of shots. Now, these pictures, they're taken on a camera that couldn't shoot a high ISO. I had to put it up nice and high ISO. The camera couldn't shoot at that high ISO. It wasn't designed for it. So when you look at the pictures at 100%, they're a bit pixelated, and I'll be honest with you, but it doesn't matter. And it shows that too often we worry about quality over what the picture actually shows and the power and the passion behind it, which is actually far more important than what megapixels is actually at. I mean, it was amazing. When we saw this fight, I could feel the adrenaline coursing in me. It's amazing. It's just incredible, the noise and the passion, and you're all just glad at that moment that you're not one of those tigers on the receiving end. Because Machli got the other the sub-adult down and started literally pounding it with her paw like this, and one of the others had to come and push her off, and they both squared off with her, and then she disappeared off. So she wasn't going to tolerate any messing at all. But this is normal for tigers. This is what they do. It's a normal territorial thing that they do to try and resolve the difference and to make sure everybody has got a territory. It's very different when there's a male tiger involved. Okay, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on, what happens with the male tigers. So that's Machli. Here's another award I won. This is one of Machli's. I think this is one of Machli's youngsters. This might be T17, I think. And this one was translocated to a different reserve. But look at that stalking pose there. Paw out really carefully, eyes transfixed, ears on. That tiger is totally 100% in stalking mode, and it's ready to go. Okay, it's just getting as close as it can. And that picture won me the Gerald Durrell Award in the Wildlife Photographer of the Year. You can see it's there with Chris Packett at the presentation award. We were passing comment about my meerkat that was a politically correct, sexless meerkat there. You can see he looks much nicer than me. And at that moment, he's smiling like that because I had hold of his bottom, which I did during the whole of the award ceremony. I was up on stage. I have my left hand. I haven't washed it since because it's just beautiful. I had hold of his very pert, fine bottom and was squeezing it all the time. People could see what was going on and were laughing. And you can see here his full screen because that's what I was doing. Chris Packett and I have been friends for an awful long time, and he's written the forwards to many of my books, including the one that's going to be out in a few weeks. It was really nice to get the Tiger Award from him in my dodgy 80s suit. There you go, and my dodgy double chin. Now, when I went out there that first time, Dicky and I, obviously, here's Dicky, by the way. He's the second one, not the first one. The first one's Forest Guard. There's Dicky there. And we became really, really firm friends. And Dicky said to me, look, we've got to do some projects for conservation in Ranthambore. I've got this project where I've persuaded a lot of the hotels to get involved with around the periphery of Ranthambore. See, when we go to Ranthambore, we only go to the core area, which is in the middle. The vast amount of Ranthambore is the exclusion zone. So we're not allowed to go in. It's the non-tourism zone. It's where tigers roam all around. They can come in and out, etc. And we don't know much about them in these areas. But one area we knew there was a lot of problems because there was no water. So the tigers were coming out of the reserve and into the local villages to drink water at the village ponds. And overnight, when that happens, you've got a goat there, you've got a cow there, it's going to cause a lot of problems. It's going to end up bad for that. It's going to end up bad for the tiger or the villager. So it's a bad situation. So what Dicky did, he got a local contractor to come in and drill boreholes. And several of us paid for it. So I know a few of the hotels did. And I and a friend paid for one of these boreholes. And it was amazing. We went to see the guards that were guarding it and in charge of it. And the first night, literally the borehole flooded. there were fresh tiger footprints drinking at the water, which was fantastic. So, you know, to do it was literally £1,000 to do this, the whole thing, you know, and it was such an amazing experience to know that you'd done something positive for tiger conservation and the national park. And it was really amazing to do it. I just love doing stuff like that. I think it makes a difference. All right. A very different tiger, I think you will admit. Look at the face on that. This is Noor, and you know I love Noor. Noor was born in 2007, and Noor means bright or light. And I actually have another name for Noor. Yeah, it's the one with attitude. She never looked at me with anything other than pure aggression, and I loved her for that. They used to say that when I would turn up, Noor would suddenly appear, because she would be quite elusive a lot of the time. And it's certainly true that I have a very special relationship with this tiger. That's why Dicky and I spent 4 years doing a book on her that many of you shared with us, shared the experiences with us. She is the most amazing tiger. I say is because she's still around. She's the most amazing tiger. She is very, very aggressive, though. Yeah, but she always does. What I like about her is that she connects with you. She always looks at you. So when she's walking, she will always stare at you, which, of course, as a photographer is what you want. You want some of this connection, like here. She really rarely look off to the side. She is boring down the lens with pure hatred at me. And it's not because I'm too close, it's just because of what she does, and I love her for that. Her personality is fantastic, and I'm going to tell you quite a lot about her life, because of course I spent 4 years with her. Now here you can see one morning we found her coming round a bend on her morning patrol, and when they're on the morning patrol, they're scent marking in places. She'll often do it after she's had a kill. For example, she'll just go and make sure that the territory is there. She'll also do it, of course, when she's looking for a mate, because she will go around and scent mark that she's in the territory, and then she will smell the scent marks of the territorial male that's around as well. And if she's in season and she's ready, then she will obviously scent mark a lot to advertise that as well. And she was doing this on this particular day. And you can see again that aggressive expression that she has. You know, she's just fantastic. When I'm framing the pictures, I know a few of you photographers, you're interested, I'm trying to give space in the pictures to breathe. I can crop later on when I'm at home, okay, but when I shoot them, I'm trying to give some nice space so you can actually get a feeling of being there. And you can see here it's a misty morning and stuff, you know, but I don't care about such things. I don't care about tigers being on the roads. They use the roads because they'd rather walk on the roads and walk through the bushes. And I don't blame them, to be honest. I wouldn't walk through the bushes either. There's lots of nasties in the bushes, so the tigers stick to the roads, which is very good for us. Now, she's a really, really great hunter, as you will see as well. And she lives in a really, really diverse habitat. So, you know, Machli and some of the other tigers you're going to see live in zone 3 and 4, which are very diverse. One's a lake habitat, one's a mountain habitat. Zone 1 and 2, where Noor lives, is really a mountain habitat, and it's thankless where it is. It's really, really hot, and really difficult for her to have anywhere to hide, to hunt. Yeah, so I mean, this kind of there's a few valleys like this, you know, but there's not much else in the area for her to hide. It's very barren and sparse, and she made it her kingdom. She was just really fantastic. And when we saw, I mean, we see pictures like this, I love it. Here you can see, you know, her digs were very tough. You know, you can see her at the bottom there in the pool on the left-hand side there, with the mountains, you know, the big bluffs up the top. And, you know, people always ask me, clients would always ask me, has anyone ever climbed them? And I said, well, you know, one, they would be difficult to climb. There'd be lots of leopards up there as well and all kinds of things. And two, when you got to the top, it would be just your luck that you'd look down and think, oh, I'll make my way down there. And you'd see Noor walking along the road, and nothing in your right mind will make you come right back down that mountain again. These are all taken with an infrared camera. Infrared camera has to work with heat. You know, the scenes are so bleached out. You know, we've had times when we've been here in the summer, it's been easily, you know, 46, 47 degrees centigrade. It's been just horrible. You know, and the pictures you take landscapes, they look bleached out. But if you photograph it with an infrared camera, it can look really, really awesome. And Dicky is the master of the infrared camera now. I taught him how to use it, and he's just become the master at it, which is really, really great to see. But you should always try to show, you know, when you're working on a project with a species that you like, and I don't care if it's the sparrow, the blue tip, the robin in your garden, the fox you've got, whatever, you should try and take some habitat pictures as well. You need to show a variety of pictures of what you're doing to show where the animal actually lives and what life is all about where it lives, because you want to give people a sense of being there and what it's like. One amazing encounter started off everything for me with her. I think it was in 2014, I think, with her. And I'd gone over to, Dicky had said, why don't you come over? There's a female on the lake zone that's got little tiger cubs. And I've always wanted to photograph tiger cubs, right? And that's what I want to do. And I have these passions that I follow, okay? I don't just want to do tigers. I really want to do the cubs. He said, so come over. So I came over, and the day before I was due to leave, there was so much disturbance to the cubs because everyone wanted to see them. People were trying to con their way to get into that zone, that the park authorities closed zone 3. And I was like, oh my God, what? So I arrived and Dicky said, they've closed the zone. And I'm there for literally 20 days. So at that point, you're like, well, what do we do? He said, well, you know the other tigers. There is this tigress called Noor. She doesn't get seen a lot, but people have been seeing her with teats, and we think that she's got cubs. Why don't we take a gamble? So we took a big gamble, and we went to see into the zone. And after 5 days, we'd seen nothing. And I was paying for this trip. So it's very expensive for me as a wildlife photographer. We don't make a lot of money. So when we're paying for our big trips, we really have to get something out. It's a lot of pressure on us. So anyway, after a few days, we got our first picture of Noor, and I saw the teats on her, and we carried on going, but she just vanished for days on end. And I was really, I think this is like day 13 of the trip, 14, and I hadn't got many pictures. I hadn't seen much of her. And one afternoon we went out. We were one of the first ones in the park. We came around the corner, this amazing boulder river that's incredible in zone 2. Amazing boulder river, and people waved us. 2 jeeps that waved us straight away because Noor had been there with a cub. And just as we bumped up, we saw in the far pond there was a cub running round and playing in the pond. It was amazing. A 2.5-month-old cub. You don't see them this young. It's really, really rare to see them this young. Now, obviously, I'm abridging this because I do a massive story on Noor, so I'm trying to pack in loads for you. Anyway, so the cub is there, in a lot of danger, because the females are not there. She's not there to protect her. Noor suddenly came out of the cave where she was next to us, like the clappers, ran over to it, grabbed the cub, picked it up, and they do grab them. Just, most cats can pick up their young at this age, and the young know just to hang, and they're not putting their teeth on them at all. They're just grabbing them with their gums. She swung round, and I had my big lens on at this time. So I was a Nikon ambassador at this time. So I had the big 600 on, which is why I've managed to crop off so much of this image. And she was swinging around. She started to walk towards us. So I put down the 600, okay, and I got the 200 to 400 because I thought, oh, it's going to be really brilliant, her walking towards us. And she carried on walking towards us, and she got so close for the 200 to 400. I had to put that down and pick up the 70 to 200 for the image that you see on the right, where I was on 70 when I took it, because she came between the 2 jeeps of myself and Dicky. She came between the 2 jeeps. It was unbelievable. Carried the cub up into the cave. I just couldn't believe it. Put the cub down, and that was it. And we were cock-a-hoop. It was amazing. I've taken machine gun pictures. I've taken loads of pictures of Noor with her cub, and the gambler worked. It was fantastic. Then she came out again. And not only did she come out, she came and sat in the pond with both cubs. Now, the light had gone. It was absolutely appalling light. I shot this with a 600mm with a 2x converter. It's at about a 60th of a second, hand holding that big lens, standing up. And it's a huge lens, hand holding it, standing up. So I had to just be very, very still. But what I was seeing was incredible, because she was in this pond with these 2 cubs, playing with them, having them look at us. I mean, they're just really iconic images. In case you're worrying why they're a little bit dull, well, cubs are a bit dull when they're this age, but also there was no sunlight. There was nothing. We were in the thick shade. It was rubbish. It was really hot. Yeah, it was like 35, 40 degrees centigrade. It was really hot, but there was absolutely no light at all. So all I could do was use the terrain. And, in these rocks, it was the worst thing. I'd love a green forest pool, but you can't get that. You just got to, you're photographing wild tiger cubs, so you've got to get what you can get. I couldn't believe it. So anyway, that's the cubs. It was amazing. So for the rest of the trip, we didn't get a lot. That was okay. We got some brilliant pictures, came home, and a couple of years later, we came back again. okay, because we had heard an awful lot about Noor. I kind of wanted to do a long project, and we came back again and spent a few weeks with Noor. And on this particular day, we found her in the forest here. So you can see there's me leaning out the side there with a few others. And we found her in the forest, just chilling out. Yeah, she wasn't really doing much. And as we kind of got up, walked along a track, we followed her a little bit again, as we always did. And then suddenly she sat down, and she was on the edge of this rocky, again, this great big rocky valley where she was with the cubs a couple of years earlier. And we could see that she was looking at something. I looked round, I couldn't see what it was. And all of a sudden, we just heard these rocks tumbling off to her left-hand side, okay, tumbling. At that point, she went into action and she legged it. I just had time to say to everyone, fast shutter speed, high ISO, don't shoot until you see the prey. And she was legging it, literally dancing across these stones. And I was focused on her. And I said to everyone, zoom back so you can see the tiger, you can see everything. Don't try and zoom in because you need to see where the action is. And don't start firing because she was clearly chasing something. Don't fire too many pictures until you see the prey in the viewfinder. Because if you do that, use up your buffer, all the action happens, you're pressing the button down and nothing's happening. And that's very annoying, especially when somebody like me is there to laugh at you and remind you of that forevermore. So everyone waited, it was great. And then suddenly we saw what she was going for. This sandbar didn't see the tiger, had just come down the rocky slope inexplicably, but the sandbar couldn't run on the rocks. So it was trying to run across the rocks and there was just no way. So she got right on top of it. You can see the muscles on her. Look at that. And she's pulling the sandbar down. Now, if there are people that are offended by this, I am really sorry to show you that, that tigers do not predate fields of broccoli and cauliflower to the horizon. Tigers eat meat. They're carnivores, and we must not be afraid to show what they do in their life. And you can see here that she's got the muscles. Look at the muscles on her. She's really taut, and she's bringing the sandbar down. Now, she's not able to kill it at the moment because she's killed by strangulation, but she's just going to tire it out, and so she can get a grip and stop it running. So literally, she jumped on it. It was all so fast. This is over in seconds and seconds. Then she managed to get it down and get the death. At this time, as an animal hugger, you want to see the prey die as quickly as possible because you don't want to see it suffer. And when you see I've seen so many animals in my life where I've seen the light go out the eyes, and you do think sometimes, I shouldn't be photographing this, I should really be thinking and sitting back. But do you know what? It's my job to bring this to the world, and it's a story that I want to tell. And she dragged that up anyway. It's amazing. I mean, she's very aggressive. She's snarling a lot. Oh, I've managed to get these in the wrong order. Oh, I managed to forget the rest of the story. She dragged it up into the shadows then and ate it. Now, we thought that was going to be a mega start to our trip. And that was all we saw of her for the rest of that trip, because a lot of people were thinking that she had cubs. Now, as it was, she did have cubs, but she lost them. Okay. Now, we saw a male hanging around the area quite a lot, T57, and he was hanging around the area quite a lot. So we knew that at some stage, she probably mate again, and there was a good chance of having cubs. Now, you've seen the picture. We came back several months later, and one morning, boom. We were just driving through zone 1 when we heard the alarm calls. We saw her walking across this amazing limestone pavement area with lots of amazing little pools everywhere, with these 3 amazing tiger cubs. And I think Gillian, who's on today, certainly was there on the day, and I think Paul might have been as well. It was just an amazing encounter to see this with her litter like this. Again, young cubs, 3 months old, and she was bringing them out to us to show us. It was absolutely the most incredible thing. And over the next, I guess probably 20 months of their life, we followed them an awful lot. We followed them through thick and thin, through learning to be thugs and that kind of stuff. She's the most amazing mother that there is. I mean, it's just amazing as a mother. She's just incredible. She is just tolerant beyond belief, but she also doesn't take any crap either. So you'll see often she'll remonstrate with these youngsters as well. So she's a very good mother. Once they got to about, this is like 6 months old now, I think it's at the cutest stage. They can walk properly, and she would take them then on big walks around the territory. And if we could time it right, we could be part of that walk with her. So we could get a long way ahead, let her come on with the cubs and walk to us. They'd all be playing. Sometimes she'd stop like this. And it was amazing. You know, we were stopped and we were facing forward. So I was looking forwards. All the clients they had a brilliant view over the back side, or the back seat. I couldn't see anything. So I leant out the side, which is what this cub is actually looking at. Noor is looking at me all the time in the background, but she's a really, really chilled mother. It was really fantastic to get it. And we would get these walks along the forest. Look at that. I mean, how fantastic is that to have these walks along the forest where, you know, you're getting the cubs, you're getting the mother. She's very relaxed. You've just got the responsibility of giving her the space with which to walk. And we have the excellent team. We had the boss driving me, you know, and there's no way that the boss would ever let me say, no, wait, I don't want to go. He would always maintain the right distance, which is what you do, because you keep the tiger relaxed and you get to see really beautiful behavior. Because at the end of the day, we're just visitors there. You know, they lived there. It's their home. We're just visitors, and she's doing important stuff, bringing up the young. So I just loved it. I just filled my boots with the young pictures. It was just incredible. And she would just sit in the middle of the road and start nuzzling them. And you would just think to yourself, you know, am I in some kind of movie? Is this the Truman Show where you're all watching me and, you know, she's a remote controlled tiger and you're all betting on whether I'd get the picture and all this. And eventually I'd come against the end, you know. If you haven't seen the Truman Show, you're probably wondering what I'm talking about, rambling, but look at the Truman Show. I can sometimes wonder this because when these things happen, it's so unbelievable what you're seeing. You know, you're seeing these things you've dreamt of your whole life being played out before you. And that's why I love Noor so much, because she was just so incredible. There's another one of her leading. If you want to know what gear I was using technically here, this would have been the 200 to 400, the Canon at this time, because by now I'd gone from Nikon, I was a Canon ambassador, and I'll be using the 200 to 400 for all of these pictures, because I love to use a zoom. With tigers, you don't want to use a fixed length lens. I see lots of people shooting with these big 5s and 600s, and they're just shooting down at the tiger, and it's like, you know, you're taking an eye or a nostril shot. You take a zoom, you're able to put some of the habitat in, you're able to control the composition. You know, I've got lots of pictures where the tiger is tiny and there's a big gallery forest. They don't work well on zoom, which is why I don't show them. But you need to use a zoom when you're doing tiger photography. It's the only thing to have. And it's a lovely line there, you know, of all these three cubs. And I love these three cubs because we've grown up with them so well. It's just been fantastic to watch them grow. Now, those cubs, you know, they got to the stage of 18 to 22 months and they kind of split apart. And we're going to just pick up that story in a minute to show you them. But this was the last picture that I've taken actually of Noor. And it was a couple of years ago. Of course, I've not been back. We were due to go back last March. Well, you know why not. And we were due to go back several times this year. Well, maybe November will be the first time. But Noor now is quite an old tiger. Okay, she would be 2007. So yeah, she would be, that old, 14, 15 years old. So, and she's gone to a very small territory now. So she's lost the big territory. What she did, it was very good. She gave sections of the territory to the youngsters. Okay, so when they were independent, they inherited parts of the territory, but they gradually started to push her out. And one of the stronger ones, Nori, certainly, and Kim certainly pushed her out. So now that she's in a very small territory, we're very small, we don't see her a lot. It's very hard to see her where she is. She's much thinner than she used to be. And it's really sad for me to see her like this because I love her so much. She was so amazing what she did and the way she showed us so many parts of her life. And I feel really sad to see her. So this is how I'm going to remember her, because Machli, I went to see her when she was 19 years old. And she was a shadow of the tiger that I'd seen magnificently rule in the lake. So she was limping. She had no teeth. I don't want to see Noor like this. I'm going to remember Noor as she is here, the most magnificent tiger I think that I could ever have wished to see. Now, at the time we were, you know, you'll say, okay, it's all great about females. What about the boys? Well, of course, Noor had a good following of male tigers, and this is the first one that she courted. So these were the first set of cubs that we photographed, the ones in the water. Remember, this is Ustad, and I have to say that Ustad was the one tiger in my whole life that put the willies up me. Whatever time we saw him, we were scared because we were just on edge, because he just had this knack of looking at you with this like look in his eyes that kind of told you that he knew what you were and he would take advantage of it. And, you know, this picture on the right that you see, we were in reverse all the way up this hill with him stalking us, like walking up the hill. And every time he came around the corner, he would look at us and connect every single time. I mean, it was a little bit on edge. And as it goes, we were right, because he turned into man killer, and he's killed 4 forest guards, unfortunately, and he's still alive. He was taken to Jaipur Zoo, and I think he's off exhibit, I think, at Jaipur Zoo, or he's somewhere in Jaipur, Ustad. And there's a section in the Noor book on him that Dicky wrote about the sad story of and the demise of him. You know, once you turn man killer, you can't allow them to be out, because there's lots of villages around, you know, the national park, and you have to protect the inhabitants as well. And it was just a shame that he turned man killer, but his place was taken by T57, who's an absolutely wonderful tiger. Rarely looks at you. You have to kind of get right in his eye line for him to look at you. Much more gentle personality. Obviously you wouldn't mess with him, but you know, he was very elusive. You couldn't really see him a lot, and when you did, it was a real special thing, you know. And this picture on the left, I still haven't processed half the pictures from this day. It was one of the only times I've actually had more than 5 minutes with him. I think we had about an hour, and he was just walking, sitting, peeing. Anything he does as a male tiger, you photograph it, because it's interesting. The peeing thing, if he's scent marking against a tree, it's a vital story that you want to tell. And even the, you know, that's the end of a flamen. He's sucking in a scent to scent, so he's not snarling or anything. He's sucking in the scent. It's just the end of it as he puts his jaw down, and I kind of like that expression. I think it's quite funny with his paw on it as well. He's a really, really cool boy. And you can see the males there. You know, some of the, you can easily tell the female. If you had a female and a male together, you could tell, but it's the beard, the head beard you've got of the male that sets it apart. The females don't have that. Also, obviously, male tigers are they're kind of much more thick set, much taller the way they are. And they've just got a demeanor about them you can instantly tell. So that's the 2 males in her life. I mentioned about the youngsters, okay? So this is the first youngster. This was called Sultana. It had lots of different names. They've all been given lots of different names. So this is the female that became independent first, and she went to Zone 1, to the lake area. Zone 1, there's an old dried lake, an old dead lake with lots of dead trees in it. She went and inhabited that area, and then she was translocated to a new reserve, okay, that was starting with a male called T91 Cowboy. That was one of my favorite males. You're going to see a picture of him later on. They took both of them to start off a new tiger population, and they've had cubs, which is absolutely fantastic. But this is one of her when she was independent, 2 years old, killing for herself. You can see she's very full there. And it's amazing to see how these tigers, one, they look like Noor, and 2, they've watched Noor and they've learned how to hunt and survive in this environment. And this is also one called Nori. Nori terrified us this day by just suddenly running along this track at us for no reason at all. She'd seen something beyond us. We were the only Jeep on it. And, you know, when a tiger suddenly looks at you, then starts running towards you, it does get your blood going. It really does. But she came right by us, right by the Jeep, crashing into the bushes. We've got no idea what she saw. But again, it's wonderful to see one of Noor's doing so well. And this is Olive, known as Kim, known as other names, whatever. She was great. This is a cave actually on Zone 2 where she was in, and she came out of the cave because she smelt her father. T57 was walking over the top. Couldn't get pictures of them both, but he was walking over the top, and she came out and she followed him, and it's perfectly safe for her to go and interact with T57 because it's her father. But I love the picture of the cave there. I love her attentive position that she's in, and all the colors and everything else. And it's just, as I say, it's amazing. I feel like their dad almost, you know. I'm so proud of them, you know, all of them. And I can't wait when we go back to see them, because they will have cubs. They probably already have had cubs now. We've missed all of that, unfortunately. So I can't wait to go back, and I will be amazed. I'll just love to see Noor's grandchildren. And it sounds stupid, you know, I'm a human. How can I feel that about an animal? Well, it's not just an animal, you know, it's something we share the planet with. And when you have a connection with wildlife like this, it is fantastic. And I think we do need to have a connection with wildlife. I have no issue with naming animals, and I have no issue with having this connection with this tiger called Noor. She's just totally fantastic. And I know that lots of you watching this will agree with me. And this is the image I'm going to leave you with of Noor, because it's my favorite image that I ever shot of her. It was we were chasing her all day, getting absolutely nothing. We got a tip that they were by this big, horrible looking lake. I really hate it. It's this mud surrounded lake, that she was right there. So we drove like mad things, dust everywhere. Dust was over everything. We covered our gear, but we were just covered in it. When we got there, it was pretty obvious that she wasn't there. And as usual, I have the best guiding team, you know, Raj Kumar on the boss. He just said, Andy, she's not here. There's too many people here. She's not here. There's no alarm calls. Let's just go ahead. There's no one ahead. And we always gamble. This is the thing about me. That's why we're so successful, because we gamble. Literally 5 minutes ahead around the corner, we saw fresh footprints. Okay. We both, and I said to everyone, don't make a sound. Don't look around, because people are watching us. So everyone sat still. We went around the corner, more fresh footprints, both Jeeps going. We found this water hole, and there is Noor sitting in it in the last light of the day. We parked right next to her because the road was right next to her. She didn't care. It was just absolutely awesome to take a picture of her, so relaxed and so beautiful, and to share it in total silence. It was just amazing. So that's the final image I'm going to leave you with of Noor today. Okay, now a tiger I haven't spoken about much, and she's going to be the subject of the next tiger book that Dicky and I do. Krishna. Krishna is Susie's favorite tiger. She's really beautiful, Krishna. She's got a little bit of a mane there, but there's something about her coloration and her manner that's incredible. And as a photographer, for me, I tell you what it is about her, that this look is rare. I can tell you on one hand, I can count the number of pictures I've got where Krishna is looking at me. It's even when I'm sitting right in a line and she's walking, you know, she's in the distance, she's walking at us, she will look down all the time. You're like, hello. It's like going to a Van Morrison concert. Anyone been to a Van Morrison concert where you have to shout and wave at the audience for him to even acknowledge that the audience is there? And if you haven't been to a Van Morrison concert, well, go, because the music's great, but don't expect him to even look at you. He points at the musicians when they're going to play as well. It's a really bizarre experience. If you're on Van, sorry, mate. That means, you know, Bright Eyed Girl, really good, you know, really good songs and all the rest of them. And the new single, very nice as well. So anyway, yeah, but Krishna, fantastic tigress. Okay. And I want to tell you a little bit about her. She is the most supreme hunter, and she's also mother to some pretty famous offspring as well. So the territory that she had initially was the Lake Territory. She's moved now into this area like this, which is the high mountain territory of Zone 4. But the territory that she had initially was the lakes. Okay, she's a very, very special tiger. So she held it for a long, long time. Now, when I first got to meet Krishna, I didn't go over. I was doing something else. I was doing a project I couldn't leave. So I couldn't get there when she had the small cubs. And Dicky was saying, come over, you idiot. She's got 3 small cubs. And they nicknamed them. What's the famous one called? Arrowhead. That's right. I think Arrowhead is one of the ones on the right-hand side with Lightning. And in a minute, I'm going to remember the name of the male tiger that sadly died. But I think Arrowhead and Lightning are the 2 there on the right-hand side. So she had some very, very famous offspring. And I think, yeah, this is Arrowhead. You can tell with the arrows on right there on the forehead there. You can tell. Hold on, Annette's probably going to tell me what the name was. Hold on. Thank you, Annette. I hope you are going to tell me what the name was of the tiger that I've forgotten. Pac-Man. That's it. It's called Pac-Man. That was the male tiger, and unfortunately, he got killed in a fight. And if you think that's sad that he got killed in a fight, it's normal that when they're, you know, the male offspring, they get to about 3.5 years old. And the dominant male in the area, their dad, drives them out of the area to find pastures new, to find their own territory, their own mate, etc. And he won't give the territory, he drives them out. And it's really sad when it happens, because often it means that this male tiger that you've grown to love, you'll never see again, because it will go into the big boundary zone. If it's lucky, it will survive long enough to get big enough to find and hold a new territory and get females. Unfortunately, a lot of them, and this happened to Pac-Man, they meet a much larger male. They think, yeah, I'm big enough and strong enough to take it on, and you're not. And unfortunately, that happens, and it happened with Pac-Man, and they get killed. And it's a sad thing that an awful lot of male tigers at 5 years old don't make it beyond 5 years old. But it was a really beautiful morning. It was this misty day, and we were out. They'd made a kill in the reeds. They all came out into the front. There were lots of Jeeps there, but everyone was set well back. Krishna brought them out. There's lots of room. And it was wonderful to see her playing with the youngsters again. Just magical. I got this really quite famous shot. It's never won any awards. It's never won anything. I always thought it would, because it's kind of a dancing picture. Arrowhead is the one here on this side, and Lightning, I think, is the one on the other side. And they're just rearing up and play fighting. And it was literally over in a second. Right, and I wasn't ready for it. I had the camera on the beanbag, and I was fiddling around with the video doing something else. And I saw them rear up, and I just literally reached over and pressed the camera shutter button, and it took this. So it shows that, you know, you've got to have your stuff set up and ready to go to get the cool pictures. Fast shutter speed, you know, thousandth of a second. I don't worry about the ISO. I put the ISO high because all I care about photographers is getting a sharp image if I want it. I don't care about noise. Noise is what they talk about on forums. You know what I think about forums, etc., etc. So really nice picture. I love this as I'm playing. I love it, and I love the one stepping in the background. It just looks fantastic. The lake is famous for obviously tigers crossing it. The most famous tiger that crossed it was obviously Machli, because Machli used to predate on crocodiles. And there's plenty of pictures of Machli eating crocodiles in the lake and stuff. There's plenty of pictures of Krishna, and I don't have a single one, but luckily Dicky does for our book, of Krishna plowing into water after sambar that are in the water and stuff. She was amazing. She had no fear of the water at all. And here you can see she's actually crossing it and swimming it. It's a really beautiful shot. On the spit of land that she's going. She's just swimming across like that. I just love it because it's so peaceful watching her do it. And then she took the cubs across. Now, they're snarling, right? She was taught by her mother, whenever Machli came near water, Machli would go, and when you see the snarl, there's no mistaking it with a tiger. It's not a yawn. She's snarling at the water to push the crocodiles away, because it scares the crocodiles. Of course it would, because the tiger's telling you, I'm going to have you, me old son. It's Cockney. Anyway, never mind. So that's what they're basically doing. They're kind of snarling. So she'd been taught that. So she's now teaching that to the young ones, that whenever they're going across the water, they're snarling all the time to keep the crocodiles away, because they are, of course, at prey to crocodiles when they're swimming across like this. So yeah, learned behavior is a very interesting thing. All right. Now she's moved. So Arrowhead, we're going to come back to in a minute. Lightning has gone some other area, we can't see it, but Arrowhead, Superstar, going to come back to. Now Krishna has moved to this amazing area in Zone 4 that's really landscapey and rocky, and I love it. I love taking pictures like this where they're small in the frame. Now, it's got the winter colors on it, which is really beautiful. A bit of rock in the corner there as a bit of foreground interest, but it shows the tiger really, really small in the frame, and that's what I love doing, because I love showing habitat. Now, Krishna had another set of young, and very famous set of young called Jam, Pai, and Sundari. And you're going to see Jam and Pai are male twins, and Sundari was the female. And you can see here that this is Sundari not telling a very funny joke to Krishna. Not at all. That's my humor. The thing I liked about this zone where they were is that, you know, we couldn't see them when they were small cubs. It was impossible. They were in the thicket, you know, there's lots of bushes there. So we call them bush tigers. We wouldn't see them very much. We'd only see them on the roads or when they came out into the landscape. But when they got to be 18 months old, 20 months old and more independent, then we'd see them more, especially Sundari. This is Sundari. And when I saw this picture, I thought, you know, immediately I want to get the rock face. I want to get the tiger in a nice frame. Just time it so it's putting its paw down on the rock. You know, nice bit of time, a bit of foreground interest on this side as well. But it's just a really nice tiger picture, I think, that shows the habitat. And that's what I want to show, this diverse habitat that you've got in Ranthambore. This is a place, everyone thinks it's a drone shot, and I won't use drones ever, and I certainly wouldn't use drones on tigers. This is where we're parked on the edge of a precipice, and we look down from the Jeeps, not allowed out. So you look down, and the tigers are below you on the rocks. I think it's a really interesting contrast. So these are all the small guys. They're not so small now. You can see this is Jam or Pai. I can't tell. Look at those lovely markings on the back there. It's just magnificent, isn't it? Look at the habitat. And they started to really, you know, these two males, they were fantastic. They're 18 months old here. They started to give us these amazing opportunities to get pictures. They would be away from the mother all of the time. So she would call them literally when she made a kill, and they would come. Otherwise, they'd be living completely separate lives. And it was like, you know, they were really, really big tigers, you know, by this stage. And it was unusual to have two male tigers that you could see, because male tigers have, as I said earlier, a completely different personality, much more aloof, much bigger, you know, stockier, and they just look so much better. Now here, this is the same tiger. Can you believe it? We're going to go on from 18 months to 3.5 years old. And this was taken last February, just before, yes, lockdown. It was the last trip I did. And I was amazed that in zone 5, these two tigers, Jam and Pi, were in zone 5 and they were dominating zone 5. Krishna had got 4 and the father was allowing them to be in there. Now, it all changed, unfortunately, very soon after, where the father pushed them out. But in February, it's amazing. We could go every day and find a male tiger. Look how beautiful that tiger is, and look how different that tiger is from a female. It's absolutely incredible, so stocky and beautiful. And it was so unusual to be able to go and see this. And the habitat of zone 5 is really beautiful. So what it does, it gives us the chance to take something that's a bit different. And here I created this silhouette by darkening the picture to create something that's unique. Because as I say, I've got loads of pictures of tigers walking. I've tried to not to show you them today because it's a bit boring. I've tried to show you something a bit more different. But it's nice to shoot wider, and zone 5 allows us to do that because it's much more beautiful. The last time I saw them, I took this shot. Okay, so darkness into light. This is Pi walking along the track, coming from the dark into the light patch with the light raking across. I had the camera set at -2 compensation, so literally it would blur the background out. It would all be black, and the tiger would come into the light and give us this gormless, I'm very hot look. It was fantastic. And that's the last time I saw them in February. And I thought, because we didn't know in February, did we? It's going to be a brilliant summer. I was due to come back in March for 3 weeks, and then in May, and then in November. It's going to be brilliant. If these male cubs stay, it's going to be epic to be able to find them. Unfortunately, we couldn't get back, as you know, the reason why. And now the dad, Tank, I think he's called T72, T74 Tank, he pushed them out, and they've now gone into the non-tourism zone, and I'm not sure what's happened to them. There's lots of rumors about them. You never know until you see the real thing, but we won't know what's happened to them until someone gets on a camera trap or one comes back, because maybe one of these big male tigers gets old, it dies or something, it leaves an area for a tiger to come in. And if we get one of these males that's 7 years old, perhaps it's big enough to hold its territory, we'll get to see one of them again. And I would love to see one of these guys again, because they are truly magnificent. Pretty Boy is another male, and it's a really sad story. We had a really beautiful encounters with Pretty Boy. He was in zone 5 before Krishna's cubs, okay? And he was just the most amazing male by himself. Really, really beautiful. Look at him. He's like a film star. His looks were incredible. He was flawless. You know, normally the males fight, but because he was his sibling, his sister died, I think, about 7 months old. He had sole access to all of the food. So he had all of the pies, and oh my, did he become a huge, huge tiger. And we used to find him again in the water. Look at that beautiful picture on zone 5. This was in the Sunday Times once, which was amazing when I was out there. You know, even the park director called me and said, that's amazing, Andy, to see that picture in zone 5. And unfortunately, Pretty Boy again went out of the park. He had no reason to. He went out of the park and he turned man killer again. And the forest department again caught him. They don't shoot them. Unfortunately, they caught him, and he's now in an enclosure by himself. He's fed every day, and he was not the kind of tiger that you would put in an enclosure. Okay, he was such a free spirit, and I've heard people say that he's just really unhappy. He can't take it in there, and you can't find out anything about it. Of course, what do? Do you shoot the tiger or do you let it live? There's 50-50 on either side, and it's a really, really difficult thing to think about. My view, I have to say, you shoot the tiger. And you let it come. I believe in reincarnation. You let it come back as something else, because it's really unfair to take a wild animal like that and make it live a life of captivity and be so unhappy. So that's my view. There's lots of different views in the world, I know. So anyway, let's move on to the world's media star of Arrowhead. Arrowhead is the most famous tiger in the world. She's Krishna's youngster. She's one of the granddaughters of Machli, distant granddaughters, but granddaughters. I suppose she is actually. She is the granddaughter of Machli, which is great. Arrowhead is amazing. She is a media star because she looks at the camera. She is very visible. She doesn't give a damn about vehicles and people. She's seen us her whole life. She's the most photographed tiger on the planet. People travel from around the world to see Arrowhead, and rightly so, because she is just amazing. And you can see here some of the pictures. This is the lake terrain that she lives in. Now, a lot of these pictures I say are from my new book, because my new book on lockdown has got tigers in it, because we have saw tigers in January and February. So my book on lockdown next year starts with a little mini tiger book. So there's a tip for you. But some of these pictures come from it. This is how beautiful the lake is. Look how amazing that is to see. You know, it's incredible that you see tigers in such a beautiful place. This is Lake Zone 3 with a full moon set in the background. Bit of composition there, bits in the corners. You know, I wanted to kind of just show how beautiful and amazing it is. And, you know, whenever I take pictures of Arrowhead in this place, I want to shoot them like this. I want to shoot them wide. Is that water drunk? Looks like that water's going out the frame. I want to shoot, you know, pictures of these tigers in this lake zone that shows the zone at its full beauty. You can't always do it because there's obviously tracks that are away from the lake. But when you get the chance, it's a crime to me to zoom in and just get that tiger, you know, there with a reflection. I want to show the habitat, the grasses in between. You know, it gives a natural frame to the picture, and it shows just how beautiful it is where they live. Now, they walk in front of the lakes a lot. She does an awful lot. When we took this picture, Dicky and I, we were perfectly lined up, right? And she was going to walk across. It was sunset. It was magic. And imagine above this is the fort with sunset over it. Neither of us could find our wide angles. They were underneath the seat. I was scrabbling for it. And in the end, I couldn't get it. And I had to shoot this picture. A lady that I know very well, a local lady, she's absolutely lovely. She came up to me after. She said, "Oh, you want to see my iPhone picture, Andy?" She showed me a picture of the tiger with the fort and the sunset and everything silhouetted. And I was like, that's it. I am never going to have that situation again. So now I have 3 cameras and 3 lenses. And I always have a wide angle on a camera ready to shoot at a moment's notice so that I can get these kind of pictures, because I live a life of regret because I missed the wider angle shot of this. It's a great evocative shot, but the wider angle, trust me, was something to behold. It's really great when she does this as well, because she has lots of old buildings there. She doesn't go inside them so much like Machli did and like Cowboy did, but she does walk through the arches. This is with Steve and Alison when I was with them, and she walked through the arch. And it's amazing. She's also been in those windows you see at the top. There's pictures Dicky has got of her poking her head over. And it's nice to see them in the context of their habitat and their architecture that surrounds the park. But of course, she's a really beautiful tigress. And when she walks around, you know, the late light on her is fantastic. She has a lovely coloration. I say Krishna is very yellow, her mother. She is a golden tiger, Arrowhead, in more ways than one. Really beautiful to see. You can see I love just taking pictures of her. It's backlit. One of the first pictures I shot when I changed to Olympus. So most of these pictures are shot with Olympus now. I just love shooting backlit. The problem is with tigers, it's very rare that you get to shoot backlit because of the undulations and the way the forest is. So this is just one of those rare times. You can see where backlit, it lifts it from being just a tiger picture to a picture that you put on your wall, because there's so much more there, I think so. She's a real goofball. She plays in the water. She runs through the water. She jumps it. You can see this is one of the lakes. You can see that right in the distance there between those trees is where she would swim across the lake. Her mother would. She doesn't actually do it now. She generally walks around. But yeah, she's a real goofball. But she gives us some really beautiful images. And the thing is, she's predictable. That's what I love about her. You know, I want to see tigers when I go there. You know, the element of chance is great, but I love seeing tigers so much. It means so much to me that I just want to see as many tigers as I can. And I love seeing her because we can often follow her for quite some considerable period of time. And again, here with the photography, you can see I've included this amazing banyan tree. There's amazing banyan trees there that are just incredible. And it's a crime, again, to just focus on the tiger because the light on the tree is fantastic. So I offset it to the side with the banyan tree providing the leading composition coming in. I mean, what a magnificent tiger she is. You know, she has allowed me to get pictures of her with a fort. This is so much trouble. There's a 1,000-year-old fort in the background. This is like 45, 46 centigrade. It's horrendous. It's not in focus very much because the heat haze coming up in front of her off the rocks was incredible. But it's the only time I've managed to see her coming up with a fort in the background. I couldn't get a high enough depth of field to get it all in. That's probably F11 as it is. But it's got an impression of the fort there. But it shows you the diversity of habitat that this tiger lives in. It's just incredible. She walks around it like she owns it because she does. Now, I said that she's a bit of a goofball. When I publish a picture on social media, you know, I get a lot of social media flack. I published a picture on social media and people are saying, "Oh, you scared the tigress. It's your fault. You're a nasty, horrible human being." They say that anyway. Well, I didn't scare the tigress. She was snarling at that forest chair. because that forest chair had a guard in it until 5 minutes before. And after that, he was on our vehicle watching as she came by, and she was snarling at the plastic wooden chair that's sitting there. And I thought that was quite nice to show it with the jacket and the rucksack and everything else. She's a real goofball. Now, she's a rubbish hunter. I mean, we watched her. It's a wonder that she's ever survived, because she was a baby killer. She would just go after baby animals because that's all she could basically get. And I've tried to make this picture as gentle as I can. You know, there's no gore in it. It's kind of almost, the tiger's almost incidental in it. But she was absolutely awful. We would watch her just run at herds of animals and make them run, hoping that one would fall over. Very cheetah style, you know, not the style of her mother, not the style of Krishna, certainly not, and not the style of Noor or Machli or anyone else. She was undoubtedly the worst hunter. And that, of course, endears you to her. Then something changed in her about 3.5 years old. Something really changed in her and switched on, and she began to learn to stalk and stuff. You can see here the kind of habitat she's in. That's why I like to take these wide angles so you can see, you know, how they live. And she just learned to use the terrain, all the broken logs here by one of the lakes. She just started to use that to hunt. And there was a reason for that, because she had a reason to hunt. Okay, she had a reason to suddenly, you can see there, look at that look, the goofy tiger, the goofball has gone. This is a serious killing machine. And she switched on because she had to, because no longer could she survive with just taking other little babies and stuff. She had to take decent kills because she had a family of her own. Her first litter, we think, died. That's quite normal. But the second litter is alive and strong, and oh, I've missed them. I really have. We managed to get some really good pictures of them right at the start. As you can see here, the little babies, I think it's Siddy and Riddy. Absolutely gorgeous. Look at that on some of the walks she did with them. They were just mega. She gave us a few weeks where we would never forget, because of course she's used to us. And because she's used to us, the young ones are used to us. And it was just interesting how she changed as this, you know, this hunter into this hunter from being a total goofball. So we just love her. This was the last time I saw them. They were about 12 months old. Now, of course, they're completely independent. They've been fighting with her a lot and pushed her out a bit. I can't wait to go back and see it. I've missed all the fights and I've missed a lot of the action on them, and it'd be really interesting to go back and see them. So there's this generation of tigers that I've missed out on that I can't wait to go and see. You know, Kim and Nori, and they're going to have youngsters, you know, these ones in the domination, see what's happened to Krishna if she has any more young. It's going to be really, really fantastic. I just can't wait to go back and see it. A few other tigers just to end up, not quite ended almost. Ghost, T60. Yvonne will know Ghost very well because she came with me. And on one morning, and the last morning of the tour, we've been looking for this tigress because we knew she had cubs. We couldn't see her at all. She was just vanished everywhere. And then all of a sudden, on the last morning, literally, we were there. We were the front two Jeeps. She came out with her cubs onto the road. It was magic. We call her Ghost because she hides in bushes all the time. It's my name for her. But I love this picture where you've got she's a beautiful tigress. My God, is she a beautiful tigress. But look at that killer look that you got from her and the look of adoration with the cub looking up at her. I just love it. Fantastic. Very hard tigress to see, though, and a very hard tigress to get the eyes open on. So these pictures are quite exceptional. I have never looked for her after this time because she's been so difficult to find. Okay, that's why we leave her in the habitat that she's in. You can see it's very, very small roads and very thick bush either side. So impossible to see her. But this day, when we found these youngsters in the water with her, you know, on the road, and then they went in the water, it was just magic. And the amount of effort that we put in all week with the clients are amazing. Just keep the faith day after day after day to go back and get that one encounter that you will remember for the rest of your life. And you do remember these tiger encounters for the rest of your life. They are absolutely amazing. This, for me, is what it's all about. This is me and Arrowhead there. You can see I'm in the vehicle. You see my friend Kunal at the back there. And I'm just sitting watching. You know, there's no picture there for me. I don't want to take it, but I'm watching how beautiful she is. She's walked right by us. She's on a territorial walk. And this was immediately before one of the best red light encounters I've ever had with her. And I just love spending time with them, you know, taking pictures on the phone. I take pictures of my daughter of her little videos and stuff. I just love her. So the status so far, I hope that you enjoyed the talk so far. We're going to have a lot of questions, I suspect. So the talk and the book have raised so far £1,475. Thank you very much. So far, we think about £250 has been made in direct donations, maybe some more from today. So we've raised enough to buy 2 oxygen concentrators today, which I really am so made up. They're crying out for oxygen concentrators out there because it will make the oxygen cylinders that they've got go further and go between more patients. And so I will be adding this up tomorrow morning, all of it, and donating all of it to the British Asian Trust. And I will put it publicly that we do that. And when we know that we've bought the concentrators, I will put it publicly too. So I want to say to you, thank you so much for supporting us and doing that. It meant everything. And this is Arrowhead, in case you wondered, on one of my most favorite pictures of it. I just wanted to put it on the screen, but it's almost immaterial compared to what we raised and what we got out of the whole thing. Right now, the book sale is ongoing, and it's ongoing for the rest of the day. It's today only. All profits go to that sale. So we can raise that number up if you want. So literally 27 quid. It's UK only, I'm afraid. 27 quid includes the postage. And of that, £19 gets donated. So that's the postage, and the VAT of the postage comes off. £19 then gets donated for each sale. So please have a look now. The link is on now. You can see it on my website. You can see it on the social links. If you want to do something great, this is a copy of the book on Noor, personally signed by me. You're going to absolutely love it. And as I say, it goes to a really good cause. So if you're going to buy an early Christmas present, whatever you're going to do, please, 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 the sale will end at midnight tonight. So please go in and buy that because it does good. I'm going to just talk about mental health very quickly. Photography, very important for mental health. I've been very honest about my mental health and how I've been over the past year and the need to make me time. I've changed completely as a person in so many ways because I've embraced nature as my free counselling service. I also was man enough to realise I needed counselling and I needed help. I'm now back into my photography, and nature has just been fantastic, and so have my friends. If you are struggling, it's okay to talk about it. Talk to a friend, talk to a loved one. You know, there's a stigma amongst men that you won't share. That's so last year. If you've got problems, share them, get help. There's plenty of professionals who can help you as well. We all have mental health issues at some time of our lives, you know. Photography and nature is the best way of helping you dealing with them by getting me time. It's always generally caused by stress and stuff like that. So, you know, we have such busy lives. Lockdown has taught me what's important in my life, and what's important is my family and my photography. My business doesn't count anymore, but it's all about my photography. And I think you'll hopefully see the change in me. Now, the new book is just coming out. It's just in Italy. It's Tuning into Nature, it's called. It's my book about lockdown and how I found nature. There's lots of hints and tips. It's packed with hints and tips. There's all kinds. There's tigers in there, amazing tigers. There's little owls, there's kingfishers, there's damselflies. There's all kinds of stuff, okay? It's a story of change. It's a really good reading book, tremendous pictures. I've self-published it, being printed now. It will be out later this month, and it's very honest about mental health. Please do support me with it. It's got a really nice foreword by Chris Packham, and I'm so pleased with it. The design is fantastic. And that's all. I wanted to say thank you very much for coming on today again. Those of you that are not members of the Wild Bunch, please have a look at it. You follow me on social. Thank you very much.